Hypergun on its first impression is really, really cool. You go into this office environment and it just sort of throws a lot of personality at you. You can explore a few different rooms, open computers, and in there you can learn a lot about the world and what's going on and how weird and unusual it is. And then you go into the simulation, and once you go into the simulation, the visual style just jumps out immediately. You've got this incredible 1980s neon and synthesized music, and it just grabs your attention immediately. And I was in right away. I was in. This is my type of game. This is my type of style. This is like Blood Dragon, but a roguelike shooter that looks incredible and it's brand new, and it's from the developers of Pamela, which I think is a pretty cool game. And then I played it, and the more I played it, very quickly I was, okay, this isn't exactly what I was expecting. It's got a few little rough edges here and there, and I kept playing. And then I realized I really didn't like the sniper. And then I was like, why don't I like the sniper enemy? It's an enemy, you've got to use skill and this, that, and the other. And then I realized that there's stats involved, and the fact that the sniper needs very precise shots while their bullets move really quickly means you need to strafe, which means you need a bullet point accuracy to hit them down on the very first level, while you have a weak gun while you're playing as the intern class, which is technically the weakest class. And I mean, it's getting a bit nitpicky, but the fact that you start off with one attachment, so the point of it is you have a gun, your hypergun, I guess, and as you go along you'll find randomized attachments, and these attachments can make the gun better, they can make it worse. There's like a corn attachment which makes it go faster, but the damage is a lot less because it's corn. You can improve your accuracy, but it reduces your damage, or you can really improve the velocity. So there is this sort of randomized element to it, which I did enjoy. Sort of added to the roguelike element to it. But the fact is, I realized the first 5 or so runs you barely got any attachments, and you barely got any hypercoins or bits. Bits are used to buy stuff in your run. So it's a roguelike shooter. In your run there are shops, and you can do that to buy health or attachments or other little bits, but nothing major. The major thing is hypercoins, and hypercoins are used to buy new weapon attachments and unlock classes. The problem I have is you do not earn them nearly quick enough. I think to unlock at least the first class is 50 hypercoins, and in about 3 or 4 hours of playing I amassed about 20 to 30 hypercoins. And for a game that is a smaller game, and it's something I'll get to in a moment about why this really didn't sit well with me, is you're expected to put a lot of time into this. And the problem I have, which I just was about to mention, is visually this game really paints itself into a corner, because you're going into a simulation, and everything looks the same. It's this, don't get me wrong, it's lovely neon lights. I bloody love the effect of the neon lights and the reflections on the ground and everywhere else. I really like that, I have to say, but it never changes up really. And like I said, it feels like it paints itself into a corner. And the fact that some enemies require such accuracy, and like I said, the sniper would be a 9 on its own, but he's also got a shield which covers up pretty much every part of him. You do have some skills, and thankfully they are rechargeable pretty quickly. So at least with the intern, I'm going to talk about the intern because it's who you're going to spend a lot of time with in the beginning, is you have a sprint which sort of basically slows everyone down a little bit. You have sort of a brute melee thing, well not melee, it's like a fist pops up, basically means you can shoot a lot quicker for a short amount of time. Now these run out very quickly, they come back quick enough, but they run out pretty quickly. And then you can throw hot coffee on people, which is essentially incendiary grenades, and they're fine, to be honest with you. The other classes have other things and they're better suited to whatever style. It's just that the enemies are the same over and over again. Like, there's a few different types of enemies. It's sometimes enemies pop in and they sort of get you from behind out of nowhere, and you can't take a ton of damage without dying. And it's fine, but it does get repetitive. Like I said, I think the grind is a bit too grindy for what they're offering. It doesn't mix things up enough to expect you to grind as much as you do. But I think the biggest sort of down point I had was when I faced the boss at the first level for the first time. Essentially, it's a big sphere. You just gotta circle strafe around for a good 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes while it shoots fire out of these predetermined areas. While also this other little thing follows you around and blocks your path of how you can shoot into this sort of sphere's weak point. And it's tedious. Like every single time I got to that boss, it was so tedious. And the only thing that changes in its phases is this area where you can circle strafe around gets smaller. And I don't know, it really put me off, and I don't know, I do find it kind of hard to recommend, simply because a game like Mother Gunship came out, which isn't incredibly similar, but it's got a lot of similar elements and aspects, and I think Mother Gunship does a much better job of keeping things fresh and giving you a unique approach to this type of game. Hypergun reminds you quite a bit of Paranautical Activity that released a while ago without the voxel look to it. I do think Hypergun looks really, really good. It doesn't always perform great on my 8GB or 9390X, which I'll be honest is 3 years old now. At 1080p it hit over 60 for the most part, but then sometimes it just sort of chugged a little bit. But no, I think I like the thought of trying to make a game that's very much like old school shooter arcade from the 90s, like Quake and everything like that. The difference is those games sort of didn't require that incredible pinpoint sniper accuracy that, don't get me wrong, you could do it in those games and it felt great, but here it feels mandatory all the time, and that sort of isn't exactly true to, in my opinion, how those games felt. Those games felt like you're constantly moving, and here when you're moving around a map or a level or a room, you can get stuck on little nooks and crannies and corner parts, and it really kills the flow, and that's definitely